welcome to Dott TV Midday News. I am Ife Arono. Let's start in Oyo State, where Governor Seyi Makinde is calling on the United Nations, UN, and international human rights organizations to investigate the abduction of school children and teachers in Orire Local Council of the state on May 15. Makinde, in a broadcast after receiving the rescued pupils and their teachers in his office in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, said the circumstances surrounding the incident were sufficiently grave and unusual to warrant independent scrutiny beyond domestic institutions. The victims, escorted in a convoy led by the General Officer Commanding GOC 2 Division Nigerian Army, Chinedu Nebife, arrived at the governor's office at Agodi, Ibadan at exactly 4:11 p.m. on Monday, before they were ushered into the Executive Council chamber, where they were officially handed over to the state government. Recorded bandits had on May 15, 2026, attacked 3 schools in Yawota and Ahoro Esienle communities in Orire local government area of Oyo State, abducting the 39 pupils and 6 teachers.
The circumstances surrounding this incident are sufficiently grave and unusual to warrant independent scrutiny beyond our domestic institutions. I therefore, with a full sense of responsibility as the Executive Governor of Oyo State, call on the appropriate international human rights and accountability mechanisms, including those within the United Nations system, to closely examine the facts surrounding this abduction and the circumstances of its resolution. Such scrutiny is not intended to undermine our institutions. Rather, it is intended to reinforce public confidence that the truth will be established and that every person found to bear responsibility, regardless of office, influence, or affiliation, will be held accountable. Under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the primary responsibility for national security rests with the federal government and the security agencies under its command. The Nigerian people, therefore, deserve a full and transparent account of what happened, who was responsible, whether there were institutional failures, negligence, or collusion at any level, and what measures must now be taken to ensure that no community is ever subjected to such an ordeal again. This is not about politics. It is about justice for the victims, reassurance for our people, and restoring public confidence that every Nigerian child can go to school without fear.
And in a swift reaction, the presidency on Monday criticized Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde over his call for a United Nations-led investigation into the abduction of pupils and teachers in the state, describing the demand as unnecessary and politically motivated. The special advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Ononuga, said the governor's request suggested a lack of confidence in Nigeria's security institutions, insisting that the military and other security agencies had already provided explanations on the rescue operation. Ononuga, in an interview with The Punch, said the presidency had no objection to an international body examining the incident if Makinde believed there were unresolved issues. According to him, the rescue operation came at a cost, with some security personnel, including members of the military and Amotekun, losing their lives while pursuing the abductors. Ononuga said it was unthinkable that anyone would deliberately conspire to expose the victims to the 56-day ordeal, including the killing of a mathematics teacher during captivity. Staying in Oyo, the State Police Command has launched a rescue operation for 60-year-old headmaster Matthew Owade of Nomadic Basic School Ibojaye, who was abducted by suspected kidnappers while returning from his farm in Budo Are, Itesiwaju local government area. The incident occurred between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. on Saturday, the 11th of July, 2026, According to his son, Abiola Owade, the kidnappers contacted the family using the victim's mobile phone and demanded a ransom of 30 million naira. A search team later recovered Owade's abandoned motorcycle in a nearby bush on Sunday morning. Police clarified that Owade was kidnapped on his farm and not within the premises of any school, dismissing contrary reports circulating online. Well, back home in Delta, the recent reaffirmation by the Asaba of Asaba of the traditional prohibition on the sale of Obono seeds, locally known as Okorenu, in Asaba's indigenous markets has generated widespread reactions from residents. While the palace said the directive was rooted in the kingdom's long-standing customs and traditions, many residents have expressed different views on the development. Cynthia Adanaya visited one of Asaba's indigenous markets, the Obogonogo market, to sample public opinion on the matter.
The announcement has sparked mixed reactions among residents. Some respondents support the decision, saying every community has the right to preserve its cultural heritage and traditions.
There is a time that went for occasion in ABC, the mother of Asaba, went with them and she was putting on whites. They were going to that place, they had decided to eat food. And that this so-called Abono, they are trying to eat. So the oil stained the cloth and he did not know. Then they started asking, what is the meaning of that thing? You know, and start telling them that is the food. That is where I know about that, the banning of Abono. And whereby when you go to that Onishe, you see Abono standing at the side of the river Niger. The leaf can never fall inside the river to show that Abono should not be eaten in Asaba. And whereby if you are eating it, you have no right to go to that place.
If the Asaba say that everybody will sell an Abono, the Asaba will is safe. He will not like the need to come and meet him. You want to protect everybody in Asaba because of this Abono. It's very, very painful. If you go to other side, you go to this Buzona. He can't sell. He can't get this cow, this rabbit. He can't sell in the rabbit in Onisha. You go to the Ila. The Ila people have their own something. Asaba will not be the Abono can never be different. If anybody want to sell in, you don't want to stay in Asaba. You want to be the Abono. You can't let it pack away from Asaba.
Others, particularly traders and consumers, have expressed concern over the possible impact of the directive on their livelihoods and access to the product within the city.
It's not necessary for me. Very bad, very bad, very brutal.
We feel bad about it because in my place we do eat it, but in Asaba they do forbid it. So it's a tradition. We can't stop them.
Thing is not really okay, but if it's their own tradition and their rules, we are meant to follow it.
An indigene of Asaba who spoke during an interview appealed to the non-indigenes living and doing business in the city to respect the customs and traditions of their host community. According to the respondent, every ethnic group and community in Nigeria has traditions that visitors are expected to respect. The respondent also urged non-indigenes to support efforts aimed at preserving Asaba cultural heritage.
Asaba has turned to a developed city that sojourns and dwellers of non-indigens has come to dwell. But I believe that in their own personal home, personal states, and personal villages, they do have traditions which they protect sacred. Let them not take it as an offense or take it that it is wrong because this is the tradition of Asaba. Let them try to help Asaba keep their own tradition sacred as well as they do their own.
Market leaders have been directed to sensitize traders, while traditional authorities say measures will be put in place to ensure compliance with the directive. The reaffirmation of the traditional prohibition had once again brought the relationship between cultural heritage and modern-day commerce into public discussion. While some residents view the directive as a necessary step towards preserving traditions, others hope for continued dialogue and greater public awareness. Reporting from Asaba, Cynthia Adenaya, Dott TV News.
And moving on, the rainy season across Nigeria typically begins in April and lasts until October. During this period, many households increasingly rely on harvested rainwater for domestic use. Against this backdrop, our correspondent Onyeka Odiase visited a dermatologist to find out whether the repeated use of untreated harvested rainwater poses any health risks. Let's find out.
Skincare expert Okongo Uche warns that the repeated use of untreated harvested rainwater for drinking and bathing may pose significant yet often overlooked health risks. According to her, harvested rainwater can be mildly acidic and may disrupt the skin's natural pH balance, leading to irritation, dryness, and breakouts. She explains that if the water also contains high mineral content or other impurities, these effects can become even more pronounced.
When we were young, we were tender, we used to bath with water, we cook with it. It was not doing anything to the skin. We have to be watchful and careful how we use rainwater on the skin. You cannot just go and pour rainwater and start taking your bath. You take proper precautions. You boiled the water, you use disinfectants, the one that is suitable to your skin, the one that is not harsh to your skin, to avoid breakouts, skin dryness, and irritations. Then you use chloride as well. All this helps to maintain the skin. Rainwater is actually good, but we have to be careful and take proper precautions while using it on our skin.
Rainwater may appear clean and refreshing, but it can contain hidden impurities that may affect the skin and overall health. Experts therefore advise treating harvested rainwater before using it for drinking or bathing to help reduce potential health risks.
And on education, the federal government has suspended the proposed review of registration fees for the 2027 West African Senior School Certificate Examination and National Examinations Council Senior School Certificate Examination, pending wider consultations with stakeholders. As you may already know, the federal government last weekend approved the uniform fee of 50,000 naira for SSCE candidates beginning next year. Prior to the increase, fees for NICO was reportedly 30,000 naira, while that of WAEC was 27,000 naira. However, in a Monday statement issued by the Federal Ministry of Education, the ministry said their suspension followed concerns and feedback from members of the public. According to the ministry, the proposed fee review was driven by rising costs associated with conducting national examinations, noting that registration fees have remained largely unchanged for several years despite increasing operational expenses. Meanwhile, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has described the suspension of the proposed increase in West African Examinations Council (WAEC) and National Examinations Council (NECA) fees by the federal government as a victory for Nigerians. Atiku, in a statement by his senior special assistant on public communication, Frank Shaibu, said the suspension of the fee hike was a vindication of his concerns about the policy. The former vice president, while reacting to the suspension of the fee hike, stated that although the decision was welcomed, it raises questions about why the government had to wait for public outrage before correcting what he described as policies that should never have been conceived in the first place. Well, similarly, the presidential candidate of the Nigeria Democratic Congress, NDC, Peter Obi, has applauded the federal government's decision to halt the planned increase in registration fees for the 2027 West African Senior School Certificate Examination and the National Examinations Council, NECO. In a statement posted on his X handle, Obi said the reversal was a welcome relief for many families facing economic difficulties across the country. According to him, the suspension reflects the power of public engagement and demonstrates that government policies can be reconsidered when citizens raise legitimate concerns. While acknowledging that the government's decision to suspend the policy, the former Anambra State governor argued that a proposed increase should not have been contemplated in the first place, given the prevailing economic realities in the country. Still ahead on the midday news, appeal court bars INEC from recognizing MAC-led ADC congresses, plus foreign and sports stories coming up after this timeout. Please stay with us.
In the heart of Asaba, where the street tells the stories every single day.
From the corridors of powers to the decisions shaping governance and politics in Delta and Nigeria.
From traders counting every naira to families battling rising costs and uncertain times.
From football pitches to sporting successes to the major developments making the headlines all over the world.
And from the untold human stories, the struggles, victories, resilience, and hope of the everyday Nigerians.
This is the news beyond the headlines. Dott TV News are your trusted window to stories that truly matter to the people. Here, we don't just report events, we tell the human stories behind them. Many thanks for staying with us on the midday news on Dott Television. Now to the rest of our stories, starting with the courts. The Court of Appeal Abuja, in a split decision of 2-1, has affirmed the judgment restraining the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) from recognizing or participating in any state congresses organized by committees appointed by the David Mark-led caretaker leadership of the African Democratic Congress (ADC). In a lead verdict delivered by Justice Okon Abang, a three-member panel of justices said it found no reason to set aside the restraining order the Federal High Court Abuja had issued against the Mark-led ADC on April 29. The appellate court concurred that responsibility for conducting state congresses of political parties rests with elected state executive committees, not with the national leadership. In his minority decision, Justice Mohammed held that the case that precipitated the restraining order bordered on a non-justiciable internal affair of a political party. He held that a trial court was wrong to have assumed jurisdiction to entertain the matter. While a total of 315 Nigerian South African returnees are expected to arrive in the country on Wednesday, 15th of July 2026 in a final evacuation move by the federal government. Now, this was disclosed in a statement signed by the spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Kimiebi Imomotimi Ebiemfa. The flight to be operated by Air Peace will depart South Africa at 1:30 a.m. with an estimated time of arrival at the Muritala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, set at 6:30 a.m. The government had earlier conducted 4 evacuation flights, bringing home hundreds of Nigerians following the recent xenophobic attacks and security concerns in parts of South Africa. Now for more news on the international scene, Emeka Okonkwo is standing by.
Starting with Bangkok, Thai authorities are investigating if negligence was what led to the deadly inferno at a Bangkok bar late on Sunday, as survivors reported doors being locked and the lack of signage demarcating emergency exits. The use of flammable materials as decoration may have facilitated the rapid spread of the fire, which originated near the stage. The blaze has left at least 30 people dead and dozens more injured. First responders found many of the victims in the restrooms at the end of the bar, from where experts believe they tried to flee but couldn't. As of Tuesday morning, 27 of the deceased victims have been identified, authorities said. More than 70 people are injured, 24 of them critically. Preliminary investigations suggest the blaze was caused by a short circuit in an air conditioner, which quickly cut power throughout the bar. But several people who had visited the bar earlier have described it as a dark room even in its original state. Meanwhile, a Sudanese court has sentenced the leader of the Paramilitary Rapid Support Force, RSF, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, to death for war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide over the atrocities committed in the West Darfur region. The court in Port Sudan, a city under the army's rule, convicted Dagalo, known as Head Meti, in absentia, along with 15 other senior RSF members who were given the same sentence. The Sudan Founding Alliance, which includes the RSF, told the BBC it was sham trial that does not even deserve a comment. The trial centered on alleged atrocities committed in the regional capital, El Geneinoa, including the June 2023 killing of the state governor, Kamis Abaka. The court also found the 16 defendants guilty of orchestrating attacks on civilians, widespread destruction and looting of property, and the targeting of schools, places of worship, and residential neighborhoods. In another development, Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent has fatally shot a Colombian national during an immigration enforcement operation in the U.S. state of Maine, a week after the agency used deadly force against another immigrant in Texas traffic stop. In the latest incident, Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) said agents were watching an address for a person with a final order of removal in Bedford at around 7:00 on Monday. When ICE tried to stop someone driving from that address, the vehicle attempted to flee the scene, and fearing for public safety, an officer discharged his weapon, ICE said, adding the driver of the vehicle was struck. Dozens of demonstrators gathered in Bedford afterwards. ICE did not share details on why the officer feared for safety.
Upstairs to the third floor window, and I saw a small sedan perpendicular to the curb with a white SUV this direction along the street. I then saw the whites, and this is post what I later found out is the shooting incident. The small sedan then turned, came here in front of us, and then was hit again by the SUV, bumped. And so that's when it stopped. The ICE agent got out of the car. He tried to open the sedan's door, but for some reason it was either locked or jammed. He managed to open it. It pulled out the person with his bloody head, bloody face. He is really sad.
Elsewhere, the Hungarian parliament has voted to remove President Tamás Sólyom from office, who was widely seen as a loyalist of former Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, who lost power in April after 16 years. Prime Minister Peter Magyar's Tisza party used its two-thirds majority to steamroll through the 17th Amendment to the Constitution, ending the term of Sólyom and the head of the Constitutional Court, Peter Paul. It was the most dramatic day in Parliament since the new government took office in early May after its surprise landslide victory against Orbán's Fidesz party on 12th April. Sólyom now has 5 days to sign the amendment, his own political death warrant, or refer it to the Constitutional Court. If Sólyom refers it to the court, Magyar has said he will launch impeachment proceedings against him, which would suspend him from office automatically. I am Emeka Okonkwo reporting for Dott TV News.
And from the exciting world of sports, here is Anthony Uche.
We start today's sports news with Nigeria's Super Falcons opening their training camp in Casablanca, marking their final preparations for the 2026 Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Head coach Justin Madugu named his 25-player squad for the tournament last week, and the pre-tournament camp opened on Monday. The 9-time African champions will use the base in Casablanca to fine-tune preparations before traveling to Rabat for their Group C fixtures. Madugu's side look to win a record-extending 12th continental title, as well as secure Nigeria's place at the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup in Brazil, as the 4 highest-placed teams at the tournament will earn automatic qualification for the global showpiece. The defending champions begin their campaign on Tuesday, July 28th, at the Al Madina Stadium in Rabat against Malawi. Super Eagles goalkeeper Stanley Nwabali has rejoined South African Premier Soccer League side Chippa United ahead of the 2026-2027 season. Confirming the move in an official statement, the club said it was delighted to welcome the goalkeeper back to the Chile Boys following his time away. Nwabali's departure from the club following the end of the Africa Cup of Nations 2026 raised eyebrows with his prolonged absence from the sticks, costing him a place in Richel's team. Now to the FIFA World Cup. In the wake of Colombia's exit, Colombia midfielder Yametin Campas and his family have received death threats after he missed a critical scoring opportunity in the round of 16 fixture against Switzerland. Campas's fears are well and truly justified, as only 32 years ago, during the 1994 World Cup in the United States of America, defender Andres Escobar scored an own goal in a 2-1 loss to the host nation. Days after the team were eliminated and returned home, Escobar was murdered in Medellin. Colombia Football Federation has now urged the country's Attorney General's office to expedite and investigate to identify those behind those threats. Still on the World Cup, France and Spain will face off at 8 p.m. Nigerian time today to determine the first finalists of the tournament.
The 2025-2026 season of professional football in Nigeria comes to an end with the President's Federation Cup final right here in Asaba, with a game that has far more reaching consequences other than just in the 90 minutes or the penalty shootouts, because the winners of this game will also go on to represent Nigeria as the fourth team on the African continent at the CAF Confederations Cup.
The curtains fell on the 2025-2026 professional football season in Nigeria on Saturday, the 11th of July, where the President's Federations Cup final was held at the Stephen Keshi Stadium in Asaba. In a game that was largely uneventful, El Kanemi Warriors scored the only goal from the penalty spot when captain Rislanu Ismail converted a penalty that was awarded by the referee, and the Zulum boys held on for the victory to win the fourth FA Cup title in the club's storied history. Already relegated from the Premier League in the just concluded season, the El Kanemi Warriors, who will play in the second division of Nigerian football, will also get the opportunity to represent the country alongside Shooting Stars at the CAF Confederations Cup. Following the game, Temitope Sulaiman of El Kanemi Warriors was awarded the goalkeeper of the tournament. Imam Bala was awarded the highest goal scorer of the tournament with 6 goals, whilst the captain Rislanu Ismail was awarded with the MVP award for the finals. Before the men's final, the ladies' finals was held also at the same stadium between Heartland Queens and Nasarawa Amazons. And Nasarawa Amazons ran out 7-6 winners on penalties, following a 1-1 draw in regulation time. Nduka Onachukwu, the goalkeeper of Nasarawa Amazons, saved 2 penalties to ensure that the Amazons are crowned the champions. To ensure that the Amazons were crowned champions, and for Heartland Queens, their first ever appearance at the tournament and making it all the way to the final, unfortunately ended on a sad note for them.
El Kanemi Warriors, after a hard-fought 1-0 victory in 90 minutes here at the Stephen Keshi Stadium in Asaba, have been crowned the champions of the 2025-26 President's Federations Cup. That also means they will represent Nigeria at the CAF Confederations Cup tournament for the next season. And they will do so in what seems to be a funny coincidence as a second division team. Yes, they will be playing in the NNL next season and also representing Nigeria on the continent. Thank you very much. From Asaba, Anthony Uche reporting for Dott TV News.
A lot of sporting excitement there. And that's it on the news on Dott TV. I am Ife Arono. Thanks for watching.